So I can get first into essentially what the different weapons are. So for people who have not been made familiar to fencing or haven't really heard of it, there are three different weapons. And if anyone asks, the best one is saber. I'm very biased because that's the one I do. But saber is a little bit different from the other two, which are foil and epee. One, because it's a lot faster just in terms of the speed at which people fence, and also because of the target area and like the part of the blade that you can use to hit the other person. So part of the reason that saber is faster is because you can hit with like any part of the blade, and with the other two weapons, foil and epee, you can only hit with the point. So you have to be a little bit more careful in terms of like when you want to hit someone, just take a little bit more time to make sure your aim is correct. But again, for saber, you hit from the torso up, and you have a lame, which is essentially a magnetic piece of or a conductive piece of fabric that allows you to register whenever a touch is hit. And then foil is only the chest area. Again, we have like a different lame because we have a different target area and you have to use the point. And then epee is relatively similar to foil in that you have to use a point, but you can actually hit anywhere on the body. And because you don't have like a specific target area, since you can hit anywhere, there's no lame. It's just all white, and you just have to hope that you hit on target and not on the floor, essentially. Yeah, so I think the biggest difference just off the bat is that I'm not competing with my teammates. Usually in a regular event, you would be competing with like you and then two or three other people from your team against 3 to 4 people on a different team, and then you would kind of just rack up the victories and try to get an overall win. But since these are like individual championships, you are obviously working by yourself, but they still have like individual bouts, which are what our matches are called. Those are be 5 points. But the way nationals work, which is different from like pretty much any other like even individual competition, is that we're in like a kind of like a moving group of 4. So it's again similar to as if you had a team, but those just won't be your teammates. You have like 3 people from other schools. You'll like fence them like a 5-touch bout, and then essentially your group of 4 will fence a different group of 4, and then you keep moving in those groups of 4s until you fence essentially everybody, like everybody else that qualified for nationals. And then at the end we have finals where like the people who've won the most bouts overall just fence each other to see who's the overall champion. So definitely in 2020 when I qualified for nationals the first time, I was really excited because it had been like a long season and I felt just very rewarded that all of my hard work had finally paid off. And then it was just very disappointing what happened with COVID, because it was a little bit uncertain what exactly was going to be happening. They were like, is it going to be held? Is it going to be canceled? And I believe maybe 2 weeks before it was supposed to happen, that's when it got canceled, and we were getting kicked off of campus at the same time. So there was just a lot going on, and obviously disappointment was one of them going through my head, but I definitely wanted to make sure that everybody was safe, so I understood like the decision to cancel it. But it makes this qualification a lot more sweet because they're like, okay, I finally made it again, so I could see what I kind of missed out on that first year, but it's still nice to know that like your hard work still pays off and just like gets you to where you want to be. Yeah, so in terms of how it works with qualification this year, I believe 40% of whether or not you qualify for nationals was based on your ranking throughout the entire season. And throughout the season, I was ranked second, I believe, so that definitely helps for the qualification part. And then also just at regionals, just how well you do is 60% of whether or not you qualify for nationals. So in regionals, I believe I was around 14th, but I was second for like the overall like season. So with that, I was able to be like one of the people that qualified, and obviously again that was just a really great experience because I was able to really appreciate how much my performance previously in the season helped me for the qualification now. And then yeah, it was just amazing. It was great being able to qualify and just have my team around me. And I immediately called my parents, just like, Mom, Dad, I qualified. And it was just really exciting. And my coach gave me like a really big hug, and all the coaches were really supportive. So it was great. And I was just glad I was able to like qualify and represent the team well, especially since I was captain this year. I really felt like I made my team proud by qualifying. So yeah. I think something I always think about before I compete is just my dad and my grandma would always just tell me to use like grit and fortitude. It's just, I don't know, it's just like a very Jamaican thing to say in terms of like how you should just approach competitions. And something they always stress to me is that like you can beat anyone on any given day, because like due to the nature of like these bouts, they're only like 5 touches. So like even if you get like 2 lucky touches, that's 2 out of the 5 touches that you need to win the bout. So I really, whenever I get on the strip, I never try to psych myself out, because like I can see that this is like a national champion or something, because like even a national champion can be having an off day, or I could be having a really good day where I'm just really coming up with good actions. So I feel like it's worked pretty well for me in terms of just not stressing myself over like who I'm fencing, just really focusing on like the actions I want to do and building a good bout. Because I feel like people tend to describe fencing as like mental chess, and if you're in a good mindset, then you really have the potential to have like a really good bout and just a good day overall.